The story idea developed with one of the LA Times reporters, Anna Gorman, who found Amber and her family through Children's Hospital Los Angeles. There are very few clinics in America who will treat transgender children and administer hormone blockers. And when I met Amber, I was like, oh, this is really the heart of the subject. Amber knew from birth that she was born in the wrong body. And so I think that her innocence and her courage and determination at such a young age is really magnificent and I think relatable for a lot of the transgender community, more so than the project I initially intended to do. I had initial difficulty with gaining access to the parents and talking to them, not so much the mother. Michelle was very open with me. Jamie, the father, was, I had only 2 days to shoot, and each day that I was there, he would hide from me and run off to the garage. And I don't think it was intentional, but so I initially wasn't going to interview him, and it was going to be just Michelle and Amber's interview. And I went back to work after the second day of shooting, and I was talking to my editors, and the majority of my editors are male, and they're all fathers. And they all expressed extreme difficulty with wrapping their brain around the concept of not just the fact that Amber was transgender and what does that mean and what are the implications of that, but how do you deal with that as a father and as a parent and as a father who initially intends to be raising a male? And they all just said, I don't know what that means. As a father, I don't know what that means. And so we decided we needed to interview the father. We had a myriad of comments on our comment page expressing both sides of the spectrum, extreme disbelief that a parent would do this and extreme support. And so having that conflict within the family, or initial conflict, Jamie came around and decided that this was what they were going to do. But I think it made it much more relatable for our community, our Los Angeles community, seeing that even the parents struggle with this decision.
My name is Amber, and my real name is Erin. My mother gave me that name. And, I am a transgender child.
She trips on the word transgender, and I think that's really interesting because how does a 12-year-old understand what transgender means? As an adult, I practically don't understand what that means. We don't, doctors don't understand exactly what that means. I think that the conflict and the fact that this is such a divisive issue is that it's not only a medical issue, but it's also a personal identity issue. And I think a lot of people don't believe that a child could be so assertive or so determined and know who they are at such a young age without a definitive medical answer for that. When I first met Amber, she was very, very shy, and I asked her, are you okay with having your photograph taken? And she just kind of did the typical teenager, like, whatever, okay. And by the end of the second day, we had joked around, we had become friends, and she was very much into the story. And this is a very sensitive issue because we're outing a 12-year-old girl to an entire state. And we were very nervous about that. And we didn't know if it was even our place. And if it were necessary, are we doing more harm than we're doing good? And does a 12-year-old understand who I am, who I'm working for, and what I do? Yes, I'm nice and we had fun, but do you understand who I represent? And so we had multiple discussions with her. And I wanted her to know that you're not saying okay to me, you're saying okay to the state of California and possibly the world, knowing that you were born a boy. And her mother was she said, I want to do what Amber's comfortable with. So it was a very fine line, and I know that there are conflicting opinions about that. In the end, it worked out really well, and it actually, I think, benefited Amber. It's a very sensitive issue, and I think the transgender community is kept in the shadows in a lot of areas, and frequently you hear that transgender and transsexuals are kind of grouped in with other underground cultures that we don't really know about. And so I was very excited to work on this project to kind of bring transgender communities to light and start a dialogue about that.